Steck has joined us. David, are you able to hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Thank you. It's good to hear you.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but here I am.
Well, I appreciate it, David. Let me just real quick before I call this meeting to order, double check. Karen, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
And Mr. Brown
Yes, I am.
and Mr. Saylor, Mr. Warble,
Yes.
and Mr. Steck.
Yes,
Okay, well, that being the case, there is I'll deem that there is a quorum. I'm sorry we're missing David Saylor. I know he was with us earlier, so he may join us at any point. But I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeal together at 7:21. First, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance for this meeting. I pledge allegiance
it's
to the flag of the United
The
States
flag.
of America
United States of America
and to the republic
and to the republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation, under
one
God,
nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for
indivisible,
all.
and justice for all.
I'd like to do the official roll call. Mr. Brown,
Yes,
Mr. Saylor, Mr. Steck,
yes,
Mr. Warble,
Yes.
and Mr. London is here. The first order of business this evening is the last time the board met was on October the 15th. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail, but it appears that there were problems with the technicalities on that meeting. We're required by our code and our own organizational articles in Article 4, Section 404.3, to provide a notice for our meetings that is 10 days prior to the date of our hearing, of any BZA hearing. And it appears that ours at the last time did not meet that and was in fact 9 days. So I would like to, first of all, so that we can move forward, I would like to entertain a motion that we do hereby revoke, invalidate, and invalidate all actions, findings, and decisions of the BZA meeting that occurred on 10/15/2020. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion, Michael.
Thank you. Mr. Brown moves. Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, Brad will second.
Brad seconds. Are there any questions from the board members? Hearing none, I will call for the question. And I'd like to do this by roll call. Mr. Brown,
Yes,
Mr. Steck,
yes,
Mr. Warble,
Yes.
and London, the chair agrees, yes. So do you have that in your minutes, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. If you need anything reread or you need something on any of these things as we move through the meeting, let me know.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the first case that we have this evening that we're going to review is the case of BZA number 2020003. The owner is Landon Copeland. The address is 12145 Amity Road, Brookville, Ohio, 45309. The property is located on the north side of Amity Road and east of the intersection of Johnsville, Brookville Road. And the property is in an agricultural district. The nature of this appeal this evening is the applicant wants to build a 3,200 square foot pole barn, 80 feet in width, 40 feet depth, 12-foot height, with a one-bedroom apartment. The intention is that Mr. Copeland will reside in the apartment until a house is built and then use the apartment as a mother-in-law suite. So for the first part of this meeting, on this particular case, I'd like to ask if there is anyone who wants to speak either in favor of this appeal or against this appeal. If so, I will need to swear you in. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor of BZA case set 2020003?
I would like to speak in favor of it.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to speak against? No, so just the one. So if you could, I need to be able to swear you in. If you could, I state your name, please.
I, Landon Copeland,
Do declare and affirm
do declare and affirm
that the testimony that I shall give
that the testimony that I shall give
will be the truth,
will be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much. Please go right ahead, Landon.
I would like to see a repeat of the decision of last month. I, don't know if there's any further discussion needed or what, but I'll leave it in your guys' hands.
All right. So Karen, you got that noted? Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this motion? If not, then I'd like to ask if there is anyone who'd like to speak to this board against this motion or this appeal. If that's the case, then I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this particular case. Is there a motion to that effect?
Yeah, Brad makes a motion.
Brad moves. Is there a second?
Nick seconds.
David Steck seconds. Thank you, Mr. Steck. Without objection, so ordered. All right, so for the board members now, and for the public's information, this is at a point where there's no discussion with the public. This is just amongst the board members to discuss. If you'd like, I do have I have a motion that I'd like to entertain, and I'd like to read it to you. Unless, and I'll hold off just 1 second, unless any of the current board members have any comments they'd like to make. Okay. Our zoning administrator, do you have any comments on this case that you'd like to make before I read a motion?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you. So in case number, I'm entertaining this motion to be moved forward. In case number BZA 2020003, the Board of Zoning Appeal will grant this appeal for a pole barn to be built with a one-bedroom apartment in which the owner will reside until a primary home is built with the following stipulations. Number one, this one-bedroom apartment / barn is only a temporary residence and may not be used for a residence after the primary dwelling is completed and livable. At that time, the usage for this one-bedroom apartment in the barn must be repurposed for another use and not a residence or primary living space for any individual or individuals. Number two, these two buildings, a home and the barn, may not have different addresses. Number three, a letter of understanding will be agreed to by the owner and the township that will stipulate the commitment of both parties to the conditions of this agreement and be notarized accordingly. And number four, included in this letter will be an understanding that this agreement applies to any owner of this property so long as the township zoning regulations prohibit multiple residences on a single property. No future property owner may change this understanding. And number 5, when the primary dwelling is built, it must adhere to all township zoning regulations, especially as it applies to the location and placement of barns and homes. So I'd like to ask board members, did Mr. Warble, Mr. Steck, Mr. Brown, do any of you have need for me to read that again?
No, Michael, this is Mike Brown, but the one difference is on item number 3, you
Yes.
added a B after the and notarized. So I don't know if it's a stipulation that needs to be identified or not, but that is the only difference between what you just read and what we agreed upon back on October 15th.
Yeah, and I'll withdraw the B. It's not necessary. You're right. Any other questions from board members or any other comments that you'd like to make? If not, I'd like to, I'm entertaining a motion. And would someone like to move this text into a motion?
I'll do that, Michael. It's Mike Brown.
Mike Brown moves. And is there a second to the motion?
Yeah, Brad will second.
Brad seconds the motion. Is there any need for any board member for me to reread any part of the motion? And if I hear none, then I'm going to call for the question and ask for and roll call the vote. So the vote on this, if you will, Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Warble,
Yes.
Mr. Steck,
Yes.
Mr. Saylor is absent and the chair abstains. The motion is carried. So Karen, as zoning administrator, we will leave it to you to carry out this action and follow through with the applicant on all of these conditions. And Mr. Copeland, we are certainly going to wish you the very best. You got a challenge ahead of you. And we're going to be glad to have you as a neighbor.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate your guys' participation in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. All right. So Karen, is there anything else that you have on this before I move to our next case?
No, but I do want you to know, I do have David Steck or David Saylor on the phone. He's listening to the meeting through my phone.
All right. And if that's the case, then I'd like, if you could, I'm going to ask you for this next case coming up, knowing that Mr. Saylor is able to hear, that we will allow and prefer his participation in this with questions, and it will have to come through you. I will also be asking for his vote
Okay.
when it comes time for a vote. The only thing is that with his vote, since we're not able to hear him or see him in this situation, I will ask that for anything that he votes on, that we will have a simple statement affirming that in writing from David that he in fact any vote that is stated by you representing him does in fact represent him at this meeting. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Great. If you'll pass that on to and make sure that David knows that, because
Did you get that, David?
Yes, I did.
He
Great.
said he got it.
you know what? I could even hear him, and I bet Jason could too for the recording. So thank you, David. As a matter of fact, Karen, as long as I can hear David and he's able to voice for himself, as I just did with that, if you've got that phone on speaker or something,
I do.
then that will not be, no written signature will be required.
Okay.
Okay?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and that's a good thing.
Okay.
You're making me happy, David. All right.
Hey, I got kicked off 5 times.
It wasn't me, David. I didn't do it this time.
I'm sure it's your fault.
Oh, well, I don't know what my meetings would be without you, my friend. Be a lot less fun, I'll tell you that. Okay. If we have nothing else, I'm going to move on to the next case, everybody. The next case we have before this Board of Zoning Appeal this evening is BZA case number 202-0004. The owners are Randall Brown Farms Incorporated, that's Randall Brown and Deidre M. Brown, Austin T. Bowman, and Chelsea Bowman. The address for this appeal is 13674 West Brook Road, Brookville, Ohio 45309. The property is located on the south side of West Brook Road and east of the intersection of West Brook Road and Sulphur Springs Road. The nature, this property is in an agricultural district. The nature of this appeal is to reduce a lot width from 225, which is required, to 165.69, which is requested. A 1.207 acres in parcel size is requested for this new parcel. I want to clarify before we move too far into this, and Karen, you're going to have to help to clarify. This is not just reducing a lot width. This is in fact splitting off a lot that will be reduced below requirement. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, all right, we're going to clarify that, but I just want to make sure that the language is clear that we are in fact, what we're talking about is a lot split, which we do all the time.
Okay.
All right, is there anyone here who would like to be speaking in favor of this particular appeal this evening? If so, unmute yourself if you're muted and let me know. So I think I see John, it says. John, you're muted right now. So if you can't, there you go. All right,
Yeah.
so John, you want to speak? Is there anyone else who wants to speak in this? Mr. Bowman?
Yeah, I would
All
sometime.
right, so we're going to do, I'm swearing everybody in at the same time, all right? If you would, please, for the record, I state your name.
I, John Hutzel,
I, Randall Bowman,
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to do it just like you did, in order. Do declare and affirm
do declare and affirm
do declare and affirm
that the testimony that I shall give
that the testimony that I shall give
will be the truth,
will be the truth,
will be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Is it Mr. Hutzel?
Yes.
Yes, I believe you were first in that list. So I'm going to ask you if you would share your thoughts with us first.
All right. We've been residing at this property for the last 3 years. I asked Randall at one point if he'd be willing to sell. Once we found out how the property was set up around here was so odd, I asked if we would be able to, split it or square it up. I think you've seen the original drawings,
Yeah.
how it was so close to the shed and really close to the building, the garage, and then it shot across all the way across the field. I told him, I said, we would be very happy if we could just take over just the grass area of the property. We were ecstatic if he would be willing to do that. And in the process, he even gave us part of the field, which we didn't really need, but I'm happy with. And I am totally satisfied with the lot size. So I have absolutely nothing against it. It keeps their drive into the field intact. So we're not having to worry about having to share that. And I'm perfectly happy with the way it is.
So,
So
Mr. Hutzel, have you been renting this space?
yes,
And so you will be then owning this space.
we will be owning this if this is approved.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else?
That's pretty much all I got. I'm just very happy with the fact that they're willing to work with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, so when we bought the farm earlier, and then we bought this little lot, the lot came over in front of the field and there was no access to the road. So when I bought the property, the little lot there where John's living,
Mhm.
first thing we did was put an entrance into the field from the road. And it's the best place to get in with a semi. It's very level right there.
Yeah.
So when John and I started talking about it, it's like, well, if we could narrow our road frontage, but give him more depth,
Mhm.
then we could keep the access and he could still have plenty of room for another leach bed and actually would have more grass to mow and just for families to gather.
Okay. All right.
That's why we're here.
So, Mr. Bowman, can I ask you, just to recap for us, the current acreage of the lot that you were looking at is exactly how much? Do you remember?
1.495, I believe.
1.4. Okay.
That
And
was the original.
That was the original. And the new acreage will be 1.2?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this appeal? If not, then I'd like to ask if there's anyone here attending who would like to speak against this appeal. All right, I'm hearing none. So before I close this open portion of the meeting, I just very quickly like to ask, is there any board member who would like to ask a question of any of the respondents? No questions? All right. So I'd like to entertain a motion, if we could, to close the open portion of this appeals process.
I'll make that motion, Michael.
All right. It's been moved by Mr. Brown. Is there a second?
Brad will second.
Mr. Warble seconds, and without objection, so ordered. So, gentlemen, before we go too far here, there's two things that I wanted to note. One, if you look at the materials that you have, we do have the letter from the public health at Dayton and Montgomery, indicating that the existing on-site sewage treatment and water system does in fact lie within the boundaries that are proposed. And there does appear to be sufficient space for a replacement if needed. So I don't know if everybody saw that. I wanted to bring that to your attention. And Mr. Well, let me say this for all board members. Did everybody receive all the paperwork? Is anything lacking for anybody?
I have
No.
everything, Michael.
I've got everything.
Okay. All right. So comments. Mr. Warble, comments, thoughts?
No, I think it's, I don't have a problem with it. The kind of the same situation we ran into over here with my neighbor, you know, the farmer wants to keep as much farmland as he can, and the new owner doesn't want to mow any more grass than he has to. So I don't really have an issue with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Warble. Mr. Stack, your thoughts?
Looks good to me. I'm thinking that's a good move.
All right, I can see that. Thank you. Mr. Saylor.
Yes, sir. I
What
must
the-
at this time tell you that those are my next door neighbors.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Bowman and his son and all is my next door neighbors. I therefore will abstain.
Okay. I can understand that.
That's right. They're good people.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Mr. Brown, did you have any thoughts you want to share on this or questions?
No, sir. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay. All right. Then in this case, I would, if there is nothing else that anyone would like to share or question about this, Karen, before I go any further, did you have any findings or questions or anything you wanted to bring up to our attention?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. And you, am I correct in understanding that as zoning administrator, you see no problems with the approval of this?
No, I don't.
All right. Then that being the case, I'd like to entertain a motion that in case number BZA 202-0004, that this appeal be granted as it has been requested for the property as delineated on the plat survey submitted by S.A. Pope and dated, hang on a minute, September 3rd, 2020. Y'all have seen this one. That's what I'm talking about. Before, and that's the motion, unless anyone believes there needs to be anything else added to it, please do. But before,
Mike,
go ahead, Mike.
I'll make that motion for you.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, Brad will second.
Mr. Warble seconds. Before we can vote on this, because we're talking about something that in fact is in fact because of the lot. We're dealing with a lot split and we are talking about a variance in road frontage. We must complete the question for conditional use as well as for variance. All right. So each board member, and I will read these for you. We will do conditional use first, Karen.
Okay,
So this is the questions for the BZA members in order to meet the standards for a conditional use as set forth in section 406.05. BZA case number 202-0004. The board shall not grant a conditional use in each specific case until it has made a finding of fact based on the evidence presented in each of the following questions. All questions must be answered true by a majority of the board members present for the conditional use to be approved. Question number 1, conditional use requested will comply with all applicable regulations of this zoning resolution, including lot size, development standards, and use limits. True.
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 Did I get y'all? All right. I want y'all, I need y'all on the record there. Adequate access roads or entrance and exit drives will be provided and will be so designed as to prevent traffic hazards and to minimize congestion in public streets.
True.
True.
Got it. It will not adversely compromise the adjoining agricultural land and will not affect farmland drainage systems. True.
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 It will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and morals. True.
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 Adequate utilities and drainage have been or will be provided. True.
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 And that being the case, we will do the variance. Excuse me, BZA case number 202-0004. The board shall not grant a variance in each case, specific case, until it has made a finding of fact directly based on the evidence presented in each of the following questions. All questions must be answered true by a majority of board members present for the variance to be approved. Question number 1. The variance requested arises from special conditions of or involving the property, which are unique and not ordinarily found in this zoning district. True.
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 The situation is a result of the enforcement of this zoning resolution and not by any action of the property owner or applicant. True.
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 Number 3, it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and morals. True.
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 It will not compromise the general spirit and intent of this zoning resolution. True.
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 It will not compromise or the use or enjoyment of adjacent properties. True.
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 It will not affect adjoining agricultural land or farmland drainage systems. True.
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 And evidence has been shown that this zoning resolution is not practical in this case. True.
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 In that case, if there being nothing else, I will now call for the question. And Mr. Saylor,
Yes.
are you an abstention?
On what?
I say I'm calling the question on the vote here. Are you an abstention?
Go ahead. Call me in.
Mr. Saylor,
Yes.
Mr. Steck,
Yes.
Mr. Warble,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
and the chair abstains. The motion is carried and the appeal is approved. Whenever appeal is approved, it is the responsibility of the zoning administrator to follow through with the applicants with an appropriate letter that will indicate that this appeal has been approved and what the next steps are for you. So congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're very welcome. And Mr. Hutzel and Mr. Bowman, if you would, if you have nothing else to do and you'd like to stick around for the scintillating reading of previous minutes and other exciting business, you're more than welcome. But please know you're not required to.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought
Thanks.
maybe. I
We
thought
might
so,
have-
John. I could see the look on your face. All right. Well, you all have a good evening.
All right, you too. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I believe that we have the minutes from September the 3rd. We have no requirement, of course, to review since we have invalidated all aspects of the meeting on October the 15th. There's nothing there to review. I would like to, however, at least ask the question, have each of our board members had a chance to review the minutes from September the 3rd meeting? Mr. Brown
Yes. David. Oh,
and Mr. Saylor, you've reviewed them?
yes.
Yes.
And Mr. Brown, Mr. Warble
Yes.
and Mr. Steck?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything that anyone feels that needs to be adjusted to those minutes? Because if not, I would like to entertain a motion to approve them as read.
I'll make that motion, Michael.
All right. So we have a motion by Mr. Brown to accept the September 3rd September 3rd, 2020 minutes as they have been submitted. Is there a second to that?
I'll
Brett,
still-
go ahead.
I believe Mr. Saylor seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I-
And the question, ayes have it. and the minutes are approved. So Karen,
Yes,
my
sir.
my next question for you is, do you have any other announcements or information that you want to share with the board this evening?
No, I don't have anything new. We don't have anything coming down the pike that I know of.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, board members, do any of you have anything you wanted to bring up? Any other comments or anything before we adjourn for the day?
No, sir.
No, nothing? Okay, well,
Right.
that, go
Hey,
ahead.
I'd like to, this may be something I'll discuss with Jason on the website, where we could have maybe a calendar of events so we don't run up against this notification issue again. So there'd be a event calendar on the website that anybody, any of the public could reference in advance for 10-day notices or 24-hour notices like they do for the
Sure.
trustee meetings.
Absolutely. So, and that would be a decision of the trustees. So, Jason, I just simply like to ask you, can you take that suggestion to the trustees?
Yeah, so let me just tell you what we're doing right now is
All right.
that basically on the website every month I add the meetings and the links for when they're going to happen so that we can add agendas, minutes, recordings, etc. In the last month at the top of the website there is now it shows the meetings over the next 30 days basically. And I just completely changed. Once we have a meeting it comes off and the next one comes on it so that that's the first thing they see on the website. We also create events on the Township Facebook page, and those are shared all over. So I think we are doing that right now. It's just we don't have a calendar format per se, but informationally, we are doing that right now, yes.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to talk with Mr. Warvel and kind of put some fine teeth on where the gaps are.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. So Brad, if you can get a chance, can you get with Mr. Hartshorn?
I sure will.
Yeah, that would be good. Anybody else? Mr. Saylor, Mr. Stack, anything?
Yeah, I hope you all have a nice Thanksgiving wherever.
Amen to that. All right. Well, if no one has anything else, then I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and call for a motion, entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Saylor, would you like to move that we adjourn?
I would make that motion, but I would also like to say that I pray God bless you.
Oh, thank you.
Every one of you.
And you too,
And
sir.
I appreciate Karen letting me pass through here.
Yeah, we do too. We do too. Thank you. Is there a second to that motion, Mr. Warvel?
Yes, I'll second.
All right. And without objection, so ordered, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all so much. Jason, thanks for
thank
keeping
you.
it all together. One thing that would be helpful that I think I'd like us to do, and Karen, this might be for you, it might be for Jason, I'm not quite sure which. I know that you put the meeting, the actual address for the link on a sheet, and I think that's great. I was trying to pull my copy up here real quick. Yeah, this notice. Okay, I think that's great. I think it'd be really helpful to go ahead and just automatically email that link to board members as a separate item, Karen, like a day or two before the meeting.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you. I'd appreciate
No problem.
it. All right. And just in case, so we got a quick way to refer back to what the right number is and all that kind of thing.
Good plan.
All right. Good. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful holiday.
You
Thank
too.
you.
All right.
Thanks,
You too.
Kevin.
Take care.
David, you have a good holiday.
Yeah, you too, Miss Karen.
All right.
Have a bless you and yours.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.